Well, there's been heated discussion over the past few days over what Muslim women should be allowed to wear in public, at banks, shops, anywhere where identification may be an issue. There are two major retail associations in Australia which seem to be at loggerheads on the issue. The Australian Retailers Association believes any suggestion to ban the hijab or any cultural clothing to allow entry into a shop or bank is misguided, uneducated fear-mongering and disturbing in its nature. And the ARA, the Australian Retailers Association, says it takes retail security very seriously. However, the other industry group, which is not affiliated, and I'm referring now to the Retailers Association, their executive director is Scott Driscoll, and he has a different take on it. Scott, what's your organisation's take on this?
Look, I think what's occurred over the last couple of days, unfortunately, there have been some people sitting on the sidelines who are more ready to throw stones than play a leadership role in discussing a matter of shop security in an inclusive and mature fashion. And I've actually spoken to a number of Muslim leaders across the last couple of days, firstly to assure them that in no way are we talking about directing any sorts of propositions at the Muslim community whatsoever, and secondly to get their involvement and inclusion in ways that we can respectfully address the sorts of issues that a growing multicultural society such as Australia has to address.
There are news reports that you would want to ban sunglasses, baseball caps, hoodies, as well as the Muslim hijab.
Well, look, I mean, certain reports might get a bit carried away and extrapolate on what we've actually said. What we're talking about is looking at giving retailers the ability to identify people as they come into their place of business. I mean, it's been a very accepted practice for a very long time that from a security point of view, retailers need to be able to fully identify someone as they come into their business, from the point of view of identifying someone that might perpetrate a crime of any sort. And that's what the essence of all this is about. And unfortunately, as I said, some people have sought to turn this into something that it is not, and that is very unfortunate in a country like Australia, where shoplifting alone costs retailers in excess of $1 billion a year, and that's all passed on to consumers. So we need to look at these sorts of things in a way that is constructive.
Let me put it to you this way. Are sunglasses, baseball caps, hoodies and the Muslim hijab a barrier to security?
Look, let me say this in a very broad sense. Anything that prevents the easy and quick identification of somebody going into a retail outlet is an issue that we need to look at. And I think that's just a common sense, globally accepted scenario. And that's why we're trying to work through this for the safety and security of retailers, their staff and consumers.
Let's be absolutely clear on this. Your association has concerns about Muslim attire such as the head covering, sunglasses, baseball caps and hoodies.
Now, what we have concerns with, and we've said this very broadly, and we have certainly included the nomination of hoodies and helmets, which are very commonly accepted as being preclusions to identification. And in fact, many retail outlets overseas actually have a condition of entry as removing of hoodies as well. We're saying that anything that prevents a retailer being able to identify someone coming into their place of business is a problem. Now, I'm acutely aware...
So a Muslim hijab has the potential, in your view, to be a problem?
Well, anything that is a full face covering where a person's facial features can't be identified, and this is also in line with comments made yesterday by the head of the Queensland Police Union, anything that prevents that sort of identification is something that we need to address.
Have you ever heard, or any of your retailers heard, of anyone robbing a shop wearing a hijab?
Well, I heard yesterday stories from Muslim women who were telling me that indeed, and these were senior community leaders from within the Muslim community, that indeed overseas crooks, criminals, are actually getting a hold of these garments and actually using them as a form of disguise. I think the last people in the world that we genuinely expect are going to actually perpetrate a crime are indeed the genuine devout Muslim women who wear these things. It's not about them. It's not about religion. It's not about that whatsoever. It's about a garment being used by potentially unscrupulous elements within our society who obtain these garments for the wrong purposes and use them as a guise or a disguise to get away with perpetrating crimes and disguising their identity. That is what this is about. We need to be a mature enough country to deal with this in a respectful way, in an inclusive way, to anyone who might feel that they need to have and rightfully have input.
Just confirming, you're working with the Muslim community on this?
Look, I had extensive discussions yesterday with a number of senior leaders within the Muslim community. I think certainly one of the most progressive was an extended conversation I had with the President of the Australian Federation of Islamic Council.